Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cross Border Talks, this time devoted to the presidential elections in Argentina. Donald Trump of the South, not Bolsonaro, but a new candidate for this title, won the election, and commentators are now wondering what happens next in one of the key countries of the global South. We are meeting today with Sergiu Miscoiu, our recurring guest political scientist from Romania. Sergiu, hello. It's great to see you again on the program.
Hello, great to see you.
And I will be asking questions together with my friend and co-creator of Cross Border Talks, Weronika Suszowa-Salminen. Hello, Veronica.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Małgorzata and Sergio.
So at this point, I should also remind everybody that Cross Border Talks is present on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on Spotify, and also in other social media, you know, and like or not. So I would encourage you to subscribe to us, not to miss any episode, and just not to lose any more time. Let's go discuss Argentina. Sergio, what should we know about the profile of Javier Milei? Because there are a lot of shocking facts about him. There is a lot of surprising facts about him. There are a lot of controversial statements that he became famous for. On the other hand, he is an educated economist, which makes some people believe that after all he has a knowledge that is necessary to run a big country. So what of Milei is a real profile and what is a media product?
I think that in the case of these candidates to presidency, the difference between a media profile and the essential individual, those differences are quite weak. Milei thoughtfully built his profile as an anti-system agent, and this anti-systemism that he presented so obviously during the campaign is consonant with his personality. It worked very well because he created an impression not of a far-fetched politician, but rather a genuine individual. Of course, educated as an economist, but more importantly, I think educated as a political beast, and especially as a TV showman. This media profile is more important, I think, that his dimension as an economist. And all in all, he succeeded to create with his personality and his performance. He succeeded to create an impression of reality as opposed to an entire system of people who belong to what he denounced all the time as being a corrupt group of individuals who work in a partisan way in order to assume the resources of the country. As opposed to that, he created a profile that was at the same time dynamic, iconoclastic, anti-systemic, but not that of a street guy because of his diplomas. On the contrary, that of an individual who knows from inside the elite-based system and who would never make the compromises that were made by those who have succeeded themselves in power, meaning the moderate right wing and the moderate left wing. And I think that this profile corresponds very well with the expectations of many people about how should a modern president look like. He used also his wife, a very well-known dancer with a TV broadcast, among others, in the same way, in order to create this impression of modernity and once again of genuine genuine alternative to the system he continuously denounced.
At this point, I can't help asking how feasible are the promises he delivered in the campaign. Is it possible to dollarize Argentinian economy, for instance, or should we ever take it seriously when he promises that free market will include everything, including human organs and weaponry?
Yeah, well, of course, these declarations were meant to destabilize the adversaries and also to show that he would dare to the end to defend his ideas. This was before the first round, and the purpose was to shock the public opinion and to create in this way, to draw in this way attention around his personality. Actually, the entire campaign was about his ideas and his personality, and less about the adversaries who really did not count too much. They were too well known and too systemic to be known. Now, for the feasibility of the promises, of course, we are very far from being able to judge them feasible. First, dollarizing the economy is possible, but on the expenses of the already crushed power of the people, who will never be able to buy things with this new system. Especially the middle classes will be severely shocked by such reform. It's also very difficult to create a monetary council that will replace systematically the currency with the dollar, which will be also rejected by numerous Argentinians. So I think that this promise will still be the horizon of his actions, and instead he will try rather to stop the inflation by imposing different restrictive measures in terms of money printing and interventions against wasting. This will be what is feasible. The problem he's got is that he doesn't have a majority in the parliament. He's very far from that. So any measure of this kind should pass through a wide majority, and such majority is very far of being met, even if most of the right-wing MPs will support him. This is conditional and doesn't bring too much of a majority.
If we look at the Argentinian politics in last 20 years, and we see the profile, at least now the political profile of Javier Milei, I have the feeling that it is a bit kind of like return to the past, because by the way, the dollarization idea is not anything new in the Argentinian policy, and we know that last 20 years there was kind of division of labor within the politics between leftist Peronist in the beginning of Kirchnerian interpretation of this Peronism, and of course the more neoliberal, more towards the business-oriented right, which was also changing the tactics. Now with Milei, there is a lot of commentators, including Argentinian commentators, who are saying that Milei's entrance to the Casa Rosada, which is the presidential palace in Buenos Aires, is a kind of break in the Argentinian politics, despite the things you said, that there are these constraints related to the parliament and to the parliamentary majority. What is your take about this? Do you think that this is kind of break, or it is rather continuation, or even the historical circle of the Argentinian politics, which is saying that basically right or left both are failing all the time, repeating themselves?
It's a very good question, and I think that the answer is actually Peron. If we look historically, what Peron did in the interwar period, but also when he was elected for the first time after the Second World War, he smashed the system that pre-existed, of course, on a different ideological ground, but it was fit for that period. But he was also deeply anti-systemic, and then through his particular kind of populism, which is Peronism, he succeeded in devouring the parties, so that you had for a long time left-wing and right-wing Peronists fighting for power. Now we are back to this kind of a scenario where the pre-existing political forces proved to be very exhausted. Their image was becoming a disaster, and the results of the actions that they made in terms of political reforms, societal reforms, but especially in these economic and social spheres, were deeply unsatisfactory. So the kind of, let's say, neoliberal, ultra neoliberal populism that is promoted by Milei is, in fact, without any doubt, a part of a cycle that is now back to the moment when an anti-system politician was able to rule against the very tired and very disliked establishment made of the left wing and the right wing. So I think he fits very well this moment in the Argentinian politics when people tried all the other solutions, and the tiring alternative between the moderate right and the moderate left was leading nowhere.
Okay. For the last few years, Argentina come into headlines also because of social movements, including the fantastic green movement of women, which led to the liberalization of abortion law, a truly historical event in terms of Latin America in 2020. Also, but before that, we saw massive mobilizations led by trade unions against Mauricio Macri, the then right-wing president of Argentina with a neoliberal agenda. Seeing now Milei entering Casa Rosada, one can ask what happened to all these massive mobilizations. Were they simply exhausted and turned out ineffective in view of how the Peronist administration did badly? Or were all these people in the streets simply voting for another candidate and now will be looking for strategies to survive in a state led by Milei?
Yeah, it's also a very good question, and the problem with mobilization, especially in Latin America, but I think particularly in Argentina, if I'm not mistaken, and this is the case more in Argentina than elsewhere, is that mobilization leads to a continuum of mobilizations, which means that it could be expressed in very different ways. So from the moment you back an idea of inclusion and altruism in society to the moment where you mobilize for a repressive cause, being the same individual or belonging to the same groups, the passage is not so difficult. we saw that among the supporters of Milei, because of this central topic about the state that was consuming all the resources, the corruption of this alternative between the left and the right, and so on, we saw that among the supporters there were lots of people who had in the past protested inclusively for some progressive ideas. We had people who considered themselves socially progressive, but saying that in the end, we need a storm, a change, a major shake that will put the system on the ground in a horizontal way, so that we can build something else. So this idea of a tabula rasa that Milei incarnates, and that's also the reason why the labor unions were also denounced as being part of the system. On some of the NGOs, especially the very progressive NGOs, that were also denounced by Milei as being part of a conspiracy against Argentina, were tetanized in this campaign, were not able to move, and denouncing Milei just contributed to his notoriety and his success. So that could be apparently paradoxical, but it's social, from a social psychological point of view, very easy to explain why people who were using to demonstrate and to protest find in the end the best way to protest by voting a person who is deeply anti-establishment. They were happier to see somebody beating the establishment from wherever he came than the establishment being reproduced. And that's, of course, to some extent semi-apocalyptic, but regarding the economic situation of Argentina, this apocalypse doesn't seem such a bad prospect for many people, unfortunately.
Yes, I will maybe remind our viewers that Argentina is actually having at the moment 43% of people living in poverty and 140% inflation in October. So this is a condition in which Milei was winning the election. But I would like to turn the attention to the foreign policy, because Argentina is not only an important country in the global south, but it is the second most important country in South America after Brazil. And we could notice that Milei, within the campaign at least, was speaking also about foreign policy, and his ideas about it. And it seems that he is preferring the turn towards the United States and also Israel in the current conditions, and that he is critical towards very important allies and also economic partners of Argentina, countries like Brazil and China, which were both important for Argentinian exports. And we have to notice here that Argentina is very much export-oriented country. That is one of the weaknesses of its economy, too much dependent on the external conditions of the world economy. Finally, we know that Alberto Fernandez, the current president, applied for the membership in BRICS, and this seems to be not also a priority for Javier Milei. So what do you expect in the foreign policy, with the fact that, of course, we cannot guess really what will be the reality, because one thing is campaign, other thing is then the real politics and all the constraints which real politics is bringing. What do you expect that he is going to do with the foreign policy of Argentina?
I will build on your last remarks. One thing is the campaign, another thing is the governance, and we saw this in many cases, and we see this in we'll certainly see this in the case of Milei in Argentina. Of course, people who were upset on the relation that some of them denounced as being a commercial exploitation by China or by Brazil were very happy to see Milei going as far as proposing to denounce the agreements with these countries and maybe just also to cut the diplomatic relations, which is something that most certainly he won't do. I think that. He will practice, in fact, much more of a realpolitik when in power. Of course, he bets on a rapprochement with the United States, especially if Donald Trump is re-elected there. This could suit very well Milei and could demonstrate that Argentina could, in the end, turn to another geopolitical axis, turning upside down what was the practice before. At the same time, of course, given the complexity of the trade relations with other countries such as China and Brazil, Milei will be forced to remain in a logic of continuing the collaborations with these states. I think that the application for BRICS will be put on hold. Sorry, but this was something that anyway had some weak chances to be confirmed by reality. Anyway, the new axis that Milei wants to take now will most probably be presented as being much more realistic, much more solid in terms of commitments, much more coherent from an ideological point of view. At least he could always say that whatever he will do, he promised even more in the campaign. So I don't think that we will have flamboyant, unexpected gestures in the foreign policy, but we will have some symbolic gestures that will place the theoretical Argentina in the camp of the neoliberal, ultra pro-American states in Latin America and most probably also as compared to other states in the world.
So this was the next episode of Cross Border Talks. We were talking about the recent presidential election in Argentina. Thank you, Sergiu, for your time and being with us and offering your insights about Argentinian situation.
Thank you for having me here.
And I will remind to our audiences, I will not repeat what Malgorzata already said. I will just remind that Cross Border Talks have also a newsletter on Substack. And of course, you can follow us on different social media. And you can visit our website on which you can find also new commentaries and articles from all over the world. Thank you very much for your time. And we wish you a nice evening, afternoon, or morning from Cross Border Talks.